You ever have one of those moments where the world decides exactly who you are without even asking your name? That's how my story starts. Let me tell you, the view from a private jet is supposed to scream, "You made it," right? But for me, at 16, all it screamed was that I didn't belong. You know what I mean? All those shiny windows and luxury seats, and I felt like a smudge on the glass. The air on that Gulfstream G650 was perfect chilled, filtered, cleaner than most people's living rooms. But it might as well have been a fish tank, the way Captain Thorne, in his crisp blue uniform, glanced right past me. He flashed his pilot smile at my classmates Liam, Chloe, Jacob, the usual rich kids from LA, all shiny hair and expensive shoes. He shook hands, traded jokes, called out their talents like he was reading off a program at some award show. Then he got to me. Or well, didn't. His eyes slid over my face like I was scenery. Didn't say a word, not even a nod. Like I was just part of the cabin, upholstery quiet, invisible, and absolutely not worth his attention. I remember thinking maybe it was my hoodie, or my braids, or just the fact that I was the only black girl in the group. But I tried to swallow it down, pretend I was overreacting. You'd be surprised how many times I've told myself that. I found my seat, pressed my face against the window, and tried to think about engines, about lift and thrust, and Mach 0.92, anything except the sting in my chest. Then the real twist walked up the stairs. My dad, Marcus Sterling, the kind of man who makes everyone else straighten their jackets just by stepping into a room. He was supposed to be in a meeting, but there he was flashing his easy smile, shaking hands, all warmth and command. Suddenly Captain Thorne was all sir, yes sir, all professionalism and charm, trying to figure out why the boss of his entire company was standing in his jet. Dad just smiled and told him, "Every passenger, Captain. That's the standard, isn't it?" With that razor-sharp glint in his eye. He leaned down, gave me a kiss on the head, and said, "Go show him what you're made of, superstar." In that second, all the pain bubbled up and I could barely manage, "Yeah, Dad." He squeezed my shoulder. "I'll handle the rest." And if you know my dad, you know he always does. The engines fired up, and I felt that push as we left LA behind, heading for Seattle. The sky was my church, you know? I'd read about jets like this for years, memorized every spec. But I felt like a tourist, an outsider in the house I'd spent my life dreaming about. The flight attendant, Clara, kept checking on me, way more attentive than the others, probably trying to paper over what she saw. "Can I get you a drink, some snacks, Amara?" She meant well, but it just made the silence from the cockpit even louder. I tried to lose myself in my notebook, but every page blurred. Every passenger feels like royalty. Captain Thorne had promised my dad. He made me feel like a stowaway. Then something odd broke through the hum of the Enginesis satellite, phone chirping. David, the young co-pilot, answered, then handed it over. "It's Mr. Sterling's office, sir." You could see Thorne's jaw clench. Nobody interrupts the captain at altitude, except, apparently, the CEO. And my dad is nothing if not precise. He told Captain Thorne exactly what he expected. Dignity and respect for every soul who steps onto one of his jets. "You failed that, Captain," Dad said, his voice all ice. "Especially with my daughter." For a moment, you could see the shock hit Thorne like turbulence. Suddenly, everything made sense to him and fell apart at the same time. Thorne spent the rest of the flight in silence, eyes locked on the horizon, hands gripping the yoke as if he could steer away from what was coming. When we landed in Seattle, he was a ghost as walked down the aisle the longest he'd ever taken. He stood by the door, waiting. When it was my turn, he tried to apologize, but his words were hollow, couched in excuses. I looked him in the eye, just once, and then walked past, leaving him with his shame and that cold Seattle wind blowing straight through his perfect uniform. Out on the tarmac, a new crew took over the jet. Thorne was formally stripped of his command, right there by Arthur Graves, my dad's no-nonsense director of operations. Thorne handed over his ID, his career, and a lifetime of pride, and walked away with nothing but regret. You think the story ends there? Not even close. The investigation was brutal and clean. Clara and David told the truth, their testimonies a perfect match. Captain Thorne tried to defend himself, called the whole thing an overreaction, blamed everyone but himself. That only sealed his fate. He was fired, not with drama, but with the kind of cold efficiency my dad built his company on. But that wasn't the end of Thorne's fall. Turns out, in aviation, your name is everything. The story spread, not because Dad leaked it, but because people talk. He tried to get another job, anywhere one would touch him. The old captain, now grounded for good, watched his savings dry up, his marriage fray, and his world shrink to a lonely apartment and rejection emails. All that was left was his daughter, Jessica's one bright spot, who never stopped loving him. Then, just when he thought he'd hit bottom, karma tossed him another curveball. Jessica won a full-ride scholarship, sponsored by guess who? My dad's company. And the award ceremony? Hosted by Dad himself with me by his side. Thorne almost didn't show, terrified to face the man who'd ended his career to see me again. But for his daughter's sake, he came. That night, under glittering chandeliers, he walked across the ballroom, floor every step a reckoning. When Jessica introduced us, he ignored all the polite scripts. He looked straight at me and, voice shaking, offered the apology he should have given a year ago. Not an excuse, not a half-truth, just the truth raw, real, and finally sincere. I was wrong. I judged you. I dismissed you. I am sorry. You could feel the tension crackle. I nodded just once, accepting the moment for what it was. My dad shook Thorne's hand, no triumph, just closure. Later, in his keynote, Dad said, "Excellence isn't just skill. It's how we treat people when no one's watching." Thorne heard every word, and for the first time, you could see a man humbled enough to finally learn. He'll never fly a jet again, but maybe for the first time he's truly grounded. That's the thing about car mates, not lightning from the sky. It's gravity. Every small action adds up, until one day you have to land. So what do you think? Was justice done, or was it too harsh? Did the system work, or does it just shift the problem somewhere else? I want to know what you believe about second chances, about respect, about what we owe each other as human beings. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share your own story if you've ever faced judgment or had to eat some hard truth. And don't forget to subscribe for more real stories that challenge the way we see the world.